So picture this. You're scrolling through your phone, and suddenly, bam, a text pops up, and it's just panic. Someone saying their friend's been kidnapped right out of a Chick-fil-A.
A Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And they're saying they're in a high-speed chase,
Yeah.
following the kidnapper down the interstate. They even give a description, brown hair, blue eyes, and they say they can see the victim in the van being held down. It's just like right out of a movie.
It's just incredible the level of detail and how vivid that is, you know? It's almost like reading the opening scene of a thriller novel.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. What happens when these frantic texts, these details about a kidnapping, all turn out to be completely fabricated by an 11-year-old girl at home.
11 years old.
Yeah, 11.
Wow.
So we're going to be going through the transcript and a text excerpt from a YouTube video by EWU Bodycam, and it's called 11-Year-Old's Prank Ends in Felony Charge.
All right, so felony charges stemming from this alleged prank. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to try to unpack this. We're going to go step by step through what happened and try to figure out, like, what could possibly be going through someone's mind to do something like this. And, you know, we're also going to look at the repercussions, like what happens when you make a false report like this.
Yeah, I mean, the consequences are a huge part of this because obviously there are very real risks involved when emergency services are mobilized based on false information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go back to those initial 911 texts, the ones that started this whole thing. They come from someone calling themselves Lily Lee, and they're claiming to be right behind this van speeding down the interstate.
Now, did they specify which interstate or anything like that, or was it just kind of...
I think it was just a general, like, on the interstate, you know, in pursuit.
Okay, yeah.
And remember they said the friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast?
Yeah.
They give that description, brown hair, blue eyes, for the supposed kidnapper. And get this, they say they can see the victim inside the van being tied up.
It's just wild, that level of detail. I mean, were there any other details that were, you know, particularly striking or...
Well, they actually said they were in a blue Jeep following a white van. So they're giving, like, very specific vehicle descriptions.
So it's not just like a vague, you know, there's a van, it's a white van.
Yeah.
I'm in a car. No, it's a blue Jeep, white van. It's very, very specific, which I guess lends a certain air of credibility.
Right. And you can understand how that would immediately trigger a serious response from law enforcement.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anyone reading those texts would think there's an active kidnapping situation unfolding and they need to act fast.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Multiple police departments, Volusia County deputies, even a helicopter. They all jumped into action based on these messages.
Wow. So a full-scale mobilization based on these texts, I mean, that just speaks to convincing those details were.
Yeah, but here's where the story takes a really unexpected turn.
Okay.
While this massive search is underway, someone decides to, you know, use the technology available and trace the location of the phone sending these texts.
Oh, that's smart. I mean, nowadays, it's pretty routine to track the location of a phone, especially in emergency situations.
Right, and this is where things start to unravel because the GPS data doesn't put the phone anywhere near the interstate.
Oh, so they weren't actually speeding down the highway chasing a kidnapper.
Nope. Instead, the phone is traced to a house, a residence in Port Orange, just sitting there stationary.
So their story about being on the interstate in a high-speed chase that's completely fabricated.
Yeah, basically their digital footprint completely contradicted everything they were saying in those texts.
So at that point, I imagine the whole situation just shifted completely for law enforcement. I mean, they go from thinking there's an active kidnapping to now they've got a fixed location and a pretty good suspicion that they're dealing with a false report.
Exactly. And that's when things start to get really interesting. Deputies arrive at this house in Port Orange.
Okay.
And they speak to the homeowner and they ask, you know, do you have a daughter named Lily Lee? Because that's the name that was used in those texts.
Right.
But the homeowner's like, no, I don't have a daughter with that name. But he does mention that he has two daughters, Ava and Mikey, and they just got back from a trip to Pennsylvania.
Okay, so already there's some confusion right off the bat. Like, why are they using a different name? And also this timeline issue. If they just got back from a trip, how could they be involved in this kidnapping that supposedly just happened?
Yeah, it just doesn't add up.
No, not at all.
And then this is almost too perfect as they're talking. Ava walks into the garage and her phone starts ringing.
Oh, no way.
And a deputy just, you know, on a hunch answers the phone.
I can only imagine the look on Ava's face at that moment.
And guess who's on the other end? It's the sheriff's office calling to confirm that they've found the phone, sending those bogus 911 reports.
Wow, so they literally catch her red-handed phones ringing. It's the police talk about a smoking gun.
Yeah, but the story doesn't end there. When they look at Ava's phone, they find even more calls to 911 from earlier that same morning.
Really? So it wasn't just the one set of texts?
No, there was actually an initial call where you hear a young voice, probably Ava, saying, "Oh, sorry, wrong number."
So she calls 911 and then immediately hangs up saying, wrong number.
Uh,
That's...
yeah, it's strange.
It's very strange. Like, was she testing the waters or was she having second thoughts and then decided to go through with it anyway?
It's hard to say, but what we do know is that right after that wrong number call, the same phone starts sending those fake kidnapping texts with all those crazy details.
Well, it seems like there was at least some level of planning involved, not just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just a random prank call.
Definitely.
So naturally, the deputies confront Ava about all of this.
And how did she react?
At first, she just denies everything. She's like, nope, wasn't me, didn't do it.
Oh, wow. So even with all the evidence right there, the phone calls, the texts.
Yeah, she just keeps denying it. And her parents are completely lost. They're like,
Yeah.
what is going on? We need an explanation.
Yeah.
And even with the deputies pressing her for answers, Ava just stays silent.
I mean, I can understand the parents being confused and wanting answers, but Ava's reaction, it's almost like she doesn't grasp the seriousness of the situation or the potential consequences.
That's a good point. It's like maybe she thought she could just get away with it.
Yeah, or maybe she just didn't fully understand what she was getting herself into.
Yeah, it's possible.
So what happens next?
Well, things escalate pretty quickly. Officers from the Port Orange Police Department show up. They get filled in on what's going on, and they confirm, yeah, this whole armed kidnapping thing is totally made up.
Okay.
But here's another interesting detail. At first, the officers couldn't actually find any of those incriminating text messages on Ava's phone.
Oh, so did she delete them or something?
That's what they thought. Or
Oh.
maybe she was using some kind of messaging app where messages disappear automatically.
Oh, wow. So she's tech savvy enough to cover her tracks, or at least she thought she was?
Yeah, it just adds another layer to this whole thing.
It does. It makes you wonder what else she might have done to try and hide her actions.
Right. But regardless, at this point, things take a very serious turn. The deputies decide to read Ava her Miranda rights.
Oh, wow. So now it's official. They're treating her as a suspect in a crime.
Exactly. And they make sure to explain everything to her very clearly. You know, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you, all that.
Right. And it's important that they do that, especially given her age. They need to make sure she understands her rights.
Absolutely. And the deputy goes on to explain exactly what she's being charged with, making a false police report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner.
That's a felony, right?
It is a very serious charge. And he lays it all out for her. He talks about how dangerous her actions were, how she wasted so much time and resources. He even points out that she put the lives of the responding officers at risk because they were rushing into what they thought was a real and dangerous situation.
It's that ripple effect. You
Yeah.
know, one seemingly small action can have these huge consequences that you might not even think about in the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's what the deputy was trying to get across to Ava, to make her realize the gravity of what she'd done.
So does she say anything in response to all this?
Yeah, she finally tries to offer some kind of explanation. She tries to blame it on her 7-year-old brother.
To a 7-year-old brother.
Yeah, she says that he said something yesterday. She quickly corrects herself to this morning that made her do it.
But her brother wasn't even there when she made the call or sent the texts, right?
Right, and the deputy points that out immediately. He's like, your brother wasn't with you, so how could he have made you do this? And he even uses this analogy. He asks her, would you jump off a roof if your brother told you to?
That's a good way to put it into perspective for her to make her realize that she's responsible for her own actions.
Yeah, he's basically calling her out on trying to shift the blame.
So at this point, it's pretty clear that Ava's in serious trouble. But did anything else come up during this whole interaction?
Well, there's this one moment where Ava's mother brings up something completely unrelated. She's talking about how Ava's phone has been getting all these weird calls from random numbers ever since they got it.
Oh, so like a spam or telemarketing issue.
Yeah, something like that. And the deputy's like, look, that's a separate issue. It has nothing to do with what we're dealing with here.
So just a bit of parental concern thrown into the mix.
Yeah, and it kind of highlights how even seemingly minor tech problems can be a big deal for parents. You know?
Absolutely, especially when you're trying to keep your kids safe online and make sure they're using their devices responsibly.
Right. So after addressing that, the deputy goes back to the main issue. He asks Ava straight up, what did you think was going to happen when you sent those texts?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, did she even think about the consequences, or was it just, a prank in her mind?
And he really tries to make her see the bigger picture. He talks about all the resources that were wasted, the police, the helicopter, the time and money that went into responding to this fake emergency.
And also the danger that the first responders were put in. They're thinking they were going into a potentially violent situation.
Exactly. And that's when Ava finally reveals the inspiration behind this whole thing. She admits that she got the idea from a YouTube challenge.
A YouTube challenge.
Yeah, apparently there was some kind of challenge related to the Palm Coast Chick-fil-A, and she thought it'd be fun to try it out in real life.
So she saw this challenge online and decided to recreate it without really thinking about the potential consequences.
And she specifically said she thought it would be fun, which just shows how disconnected she was from the reality of the situation.
It's like she saw it as a game or something,
Yeah.
not realizing that real people and real resources would be involved.
Exactly. And it really highlights how online trends and challenges, even the ones that seem harmless, can have these unintended consequences.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good reminder that we need to be mindful of what we're consuming online and how it might influence our actions in the real world.
Especially for kids and teenagers. They might not always have the maturity or the critical thinking skills to differentiate between what's appropriate online and what's not okay in real life.
Exactly, and that's where parents and educators come in. We need to be having conversations with kids about online safety and responsible digital citizenship.
Absolutely. And it turns out that this wasn't even the deputy's first interaction with Ava that day. He actually tried calling her before they even arrived at the house.
Really?
Yeah. And according to him, she wasn't very cooperative during that call. She was being rude and using bad language.
So even before they met her face to face, she was already showing signs of disrespect and a lack of understanding of the situation.
Yeah, it just adds another layer to the whole thing. Like maybe this wasn't just a one-time lapse in judgment, but a pattern of behavior.
It's possible, and it definitely makes the situation even more concerning.
So given everything that's happened, the deputies make the decision to arrest Ava.
Wow, so they actually arrested an 11-year-old.
Yeah, and the video shows her resisting. She's obviously upset and scared, and the deputies are trying to calm her down, explaining the process. They have to go through fingerprinting photographs, all that.
It must have been a really intense and overwhelming experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, even in the back of the police car, you can hear Ava's father talking to her very
Sure.
seriously, telling her how her life has changed because of this.
And what about her mother? How does she react?
She was there too, and she said something like, this sucks for us, but it's probably the best punishment because Ava clearly doesn't understand the gravity of what she did.
So they're both obviously upset and concerned, but they also seem to recognize that this could be a turning point for Ava, a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's a tough situation all around.
Definitely.
So the official charges from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office were making a false police report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner, which, as we said, is a felony, and misuse of the 911 system, which is a misdemeanor.
And what happened to Ava after that?
Well, they took her to the Family Resource Center for processing, and then she was transferred to the Volusia Regional Juvenile Detention Center.
Wow, a juvenile detention center for an 11-year-old?
It shows you how seriously they're taking this case.
Yeah, definitely not a slap on the wrist.
And unfortunately, that's where the information ends. The Volusia County Juvenile Court has said they're not releasing any more details about the case, so we don't know the final outcome.
So we're left to wonder what happened to Ava and what kind of consequences she ultimately faced.
Yeah, and I think this whole incident really makes you think about the power of the internet and how it can blur the lines between reality and fantasy.
Absolutely, and it highlights the responsibility that comes with having access to information and the ability to share it with the world.
I mean, an 11-year-old girl saw a challenge online and thought it would be fun to bring it to life, but she didn't stop to think about the real-world consequences.
And those consequences were huge.
Right.
We're talking about a massive mobilization of law enforcement resources, time, money, people's lives being put at risk, all because of a prank.
Yeah, and it's a stark reminder that 911 and other emergency services are not to be taken lightly. They're there to help people in real danger, not to be used for entertainment or attention-seeking.
Absolutely. And I think this case also raises some important questions about the role of parents and educators in teaching kids about digital literacy, critical thinking, and the ethical use of technology.
It's a conversation that needs to be happening more and more as kids are growing up in this increasingly digital world.
Yeah, we need to make sure that kids understand that their actions online can have very real consequences offline.
Exactly, and it's not just about knowing how to use the technology, but about understanding the impact that your actions can have on others and on society as a whole.
And it makes you wonder, is there anything that can be done to prevent something like this from happening again? Is there a way to help kids better understand the line between what's acceptable online and what's absolutely not okay in the real world?
That's a tough question, and there's probably no easy answer, but it's definitely something worth thinking about.
Definitely. It's a challenge for all of us, parents, educators, content creators, everyone, to work together to create a safer and more responsible online environment for kids.
Absolutely, and that's something we should all be striving for.
So there was a text message from someone saying they were behind a car. Their friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, and they were on the interstate behind the car.
Everything on your phone is telling me that you made a phone call 911.
But I didn't talk.
Because you did something stupid.
Here, Amanda. There's that. Hey.
On July 26, 2023, dispatchers in Volusia County receive urgent 911 texts from a driver who claims to be following an armed kidnapper's van on the interstate. When they trace the phone, however, they learn the messages are coming from a residence in Port Orange, turning a plea for help into an unexpected lesson in consequences.
I'm telling you this right now, you're going to take this as a lesson at 11 years old that if you do something stupid in the future, you're going to enjoy those cuffs.
I'm not going to do this again.
The following report is based on official police records, and the footage has mostly never been seen before until now. It's just after 9:45 a.m. when 911 begins receiving texts from someone named Lily Lee Combs. She claims to be following a kidnapper's van on the interstate, and updates are still pouring in. Volusia County deputies, multiple area police departments, and a helicopter join the urgent search. When they fail to locate the van, a deputy tries calling the phone number that's been sending the text messages.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi. Is this what's your name? Can you hear me? Hello? I'm trying to reach the person that called 911.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, shit, I'm up.
Please leave your message for 3.
No, it's going to voicemail. It says, RP confirming they are in a blue Jeep. Victim is in a white van. They can see they are being restrained through the windows. At the turnaround?
A new text message comes through, including a detailed description of the suspect, who's described as having brown hair and blue eyes.
How is she behind him? She's seeing this happen and she knows what color eyes he has. That's weird. Brown hair and blue eyes, but she's behind him. Like,
If she was saw the incident or saw witnessed the kidnapping, or how would you even be following them and know any of this?
yeah, RP confirming they are in a blue Jeep, victim in a white van. Of course it's a white van. Like, it just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm not saying this by any means, but it's just,
Yeah.
I've had calls like this before.
Their suspicions about the text messages are all but confirmed when a GPS trace on the phone comes back to a residence in Port Orange, indicating the texter is not traveling on the highway as they claimed. Deputies quickly head to the residence to investigate.
Hi there, how you doing? Is this your residence, sir?
This is.
Do you have a daughter or a child at the home named by Lily Lee?
No.
No?
Anybody home?
Yeah, my wife, my kids. We just got home from Pennsylvania. I have an Ava and a Mikey.
Ava and Mikey?
Yep.
One Delta 5.
Would you like to see them?
The deputies follow him to his house, where he informs his wife what's going on.
There was a 911 call?
Yeah, so somebody called in, or they
Sorry, I'm in my pajamas.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Someone texted into 911 that someone was getting kidnapped and they were on the interstate, but then when they went and did a location on the phone, the address was showing up here.
As their daughter Ava steps into the garage, her phone rings. The deputy answers it, leading to a shocking conclusion.
Hello? Hold on. Who's this?
Volusia County Sheriff's Office.
All right, cool. This is Deputy Asby, the Sheriff's Office.
Oh, good. You got her.
Yep. All right.
Oh, okay. Is her dad home?
Yep. I got both her parents here.
Yeah, we're going to ask the sheriff to go away in a second.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
What happened? I'm so...
Let me see this phone.
Yeah, so all these other numbers, so there's a phone call out to 911.
There's a phone call out to
Yeah.
Right there.
911? What time?
That's
There's
her
one
call.
right
That's
here.
her calling it.
There's 911 again right there.
This phone was called
These numbers calling back in are no caller ID.
You did?
Well, there's 3 different times that 911 was called out from this phone.
9:30 a.m.
Yep.
That was the initial call.
Twice.
But I didn't mean to call that because But you did.
Reports show that the number belonging to Ava dialed 911 at 9:30. When asked where the emergency is, a female identified as possibly a juvenile responded, "I'm sorry, I dialed the wrong number." The same phone number would later begin texting 911 to report the kidnapping.
I'm just so confused, I'm sorry. When did you got a message about an interstate?
So there was a text message from someone saying they were behind a car.
Could I call this
Who
back?
was kidnapped.
That's
Their friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, and they were on the interstate behind the car.
What time is this?
This
Today?
is this is today. This
We
is
got
actively going
home
on
at
right now.
2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
So we were here the whole time since 2:30. We were on the interstate coming home from
everything's showing
Pennsylvania.
Right.
that you called out.
We showed up here like 2:10, 2:15.
Okay.
And we went to bed.
But these 911 calls
For this
count.
morning. You were calling 911? You were. Don't look surprised. You did. You
Did
did
you?
it on your phone.
Did they say anything to you? No one said anything to you?
Did you say, Ava, you have to explain what happened here. Something's going on. What did you know? What do you know?
Mikey, go inside. Ava, get your shoes on. Come out here.
I didn't hear anything.
Close the door.
You're not in trouble.
Go
I
on
just
your
need to
iPad.
know what happened. I need to know and understand because this is like weird.
Because we got to make sure that there's not somebody that's being kidnapped on the interstate and we're trying to find them. And all of a
Open your
sudden-
mouth if you said something on the phone.
I didn't say anything,
Everything on your phone is telling me that you made a phone call 911.
but I didn't talk.
While one deputy heads to her cruiser, she greets officers from the Port Orange Police Department who have just arrived at the scene.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, I was just trying to make heads or tails of that damn call. There's
Where's-
so many notes in it, my God.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. We're with the parents and the daughter, and I guess
Okay.
the daughter did have. We pulled up the call log, and she did call 911.
So the whole armed kidnapping thing and all that stuff is bogus, or?
There was no text evidence when we looked through it, so I don't know if she deleted it real quick or if it's like through
Okay.
through an app. Yeah, it seems it's probably just this wedding thing. She's like 10 years old, so
Wow, okay.
yeah.
While Ava's parents demand an explanation, deputies prepare to Mirandize the 11-year-old, who has yet to fully grasp the gravity of the situation.
You just lied to the police and mommy and daddy. You just lied to everybody.
You have 3 sheriffs here for stupidity.
Tell them what you just said to us.
Open your mouth. I'm telling you, open your mouth.
She's going to read you something, and then we're going to ask you some questions. What's your name? Ava. How old are you, Ava?
All right, Miss Ava, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions and to have the lawyer present during any questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before my questioning if you wish.
We're reading her rights.
Because you did something stupid.
Right.
Let me explain something here, okay? You can cry about this. What you've done here is a felony, okay? It's a felony crime, and you probably had 20 law enforcement officers at least, a helicopter, and all running with lights and siren on high speed to try to apprehend or try to stop a serious forcible felony from happening. Do you know what happens if one of those officers crashes and gets killed on the way to responding to something that you did as a joke? So you better take this serious.
Under pressure from both her father and the deputy, Ava offers an excuse for her actions, which doesn't sit well with the deputy.
Ava, you need to tell the exact truth. I don't want a story. I don't care what it is. I want the exact truth.
You can't make this go away by being quiet. The only thing you're going to end up that's going to happen to you is you're going to end up in a pair of handcuffs going to our juvenile facility. I'm not going to mince any words with you. That's a very distinct possibility of what can happen here today. Don't look at your mother. She didn't have any part in this. This was all you.
Yesterday, my brother said something about my brother. Just made me pop in the head, and then I ended up going today and doing all this. And
Was he part of planning this with you?
no, he just said it, and then
What did he say?
he said, "What's 911?"
This is your brother?
Yeah, he said it this way.
You wanna get him?
Style 911.
Well, we can, when we're done, will you go wait a minute?
And then I said, no, we can't. And then I had an idea this morning, and then I just.
So you're trying to blame this on your brother?
You could ask him.
Did he, was he with you when you made this call?
No.
Okay, was he with you when you made these texts?
No.
Okay, then you did this. You were on your own for this. And if your brother's 7 years old, you're not going to blame your 7-year-old brother for this. This was all your decision. Okay.
To call 911 to do what? What did he say to call 911?
Just call 911. You could ask him.
So can I ask?
What if
was
he told you to
something
go up on the roof
YouTube
and jump
that you
off the
saw?
roof? Would you do that? So what's the difference?
Deputies will soon discover the startling truth behind Ava's fabricated story. For now, Ava's mother raises concerns about recent questionable activity on Ava's phone, but it does little to impact the situation.
So I have something really weird with that phone. When we first got that, the phone kept ringing non-stop, ringing in to me. And I was picking it up and there was like people talking and like, I'm like, hello. And like non-stop, like I mean every 4 seconds there was a call coming in with random numbers and I didn't know them. And I was saying block contact. Like as soon as we got that phone number.
Okay,
well, like
that has nothing to do with what went on today.
Questions about her intentions lead to a harsh reality check from the deputy, who forces Ava to consider the possible consequences of the false report.
What were you planning on happening out of this? Well, what did you think was going to happen when you said somebody was kidnapped and somebody had a gun? What did you think was going to happen? Well, did you have any thoughts about how much of the law enforcement resources in this area you were going to take up by doing that? I probably never thought of that, right? Did you think of the men and women that have families at home that are driving 90 or 100 miles an hour with their lights and siren on, trying to save somebody who's a victim of an armed kidnapping, that they could be involved in a traffic crash and be seriously injured or killed because you wanted to make a joke? Does that seem funny to you? Would that be funny if that happened? Because I can tell you that would be even more serious than what you're looking at right now.
You physically see your father walk up to sheriffs, military, everybody, thank you for your service. And then you do like this?
Though it wasn't captured on camera, reports state that Ava admitted to getting the idea to prank 911 from a YouTube challenge, and a deputy attempts to get more details.
Where was this video that you saw? Where was it? On YouTube? Do you remember who the creator was or who the poster was, what it was about? What do you mean by all of this? This as in what? So it was a video about the Palm Coast Chick-fil-A. That's it. That's all the video was about? Gotcha. So, yep. So you saw a video that somebody made about how fun it would be to call 911 or text 911 and say if somebody's got a gun, somebody's trying to get hurt. You thought it'd be fun to recreate that. Is that what you're telling me? Okay.
However, Ava is about to realize an apology won't be enough to escape the consequences. Meanwhile, one deputy reveals that he was able to reach Ava by phone just before their arrival and got a less than friendly response from the young girl.
27 minutes, she lied to the dispatcher or the call taker over text, and then when I caught her up, she told me to F myself and stop responding.
Caught her up?
Like, got her caught up. Like, hey, you know what's up? The jig's up.
That's when she started deleting more text messages.
Mm-hmm.
Based on Ava's statements, deputies decide there's enough probable cause to arrest Ava and prepare to take the 11-year-old into custody.
Here, Amanda. Here's up. Hey.
She can't go in a dentist. I'm just saying this. She can't sit in a dentist's office, so that's why I'm saying.
Deep breath.
Listen carefully. Don't make this.
You can talk to
She's
me.
gonna come out there. No, she'll be out there.
She is going to hurt herself right now.
She's not going to. Don't prevent her.
What school does she go to?
Daddy hurts.
So stop. Listen to me. What's your Ava? Ava, stop struggling, okay? They're not going to hurt you. Yeah, they're not going to hurt you. Listen carefully what's going to happen here. No one's going to hurt you. You're going to sit in the car for now, okay? If you go somewhere, what it's going to involve is taking pictures, taking fingerprints, and then they're going to call your parents to come and get you. So don't make the situation any worse. They'll be up shortly after that.
Go in the car?
No, you can't go in the car.
You can cuff me if you have to.
It can't. It just can't happen.
I'm telling you this right now. You're going to take this as a lesson at 11 years old, that if you do something stupid in the future, you're going to enjoy those cuffs.
I'm not gonna do this again.
Ava is placed into the back of the police car, where her father delivers a few hard truths.
I'm just warning you, you're not going to sit here for a couple hours. They're going to be bringing you into a building, fingerprinting you, doing all sorts of stupid for your stupid. Your life just changed, kid. Over a phone call, your life just changed.
Minutes later, the reality of the situation continues to have an emotional impact on her parents.
This is the best punishment for her right now. Stop stressing. This is the best thing for her because she doesn't get
It
it.
sucks for us. I work my off with you to keep this kid doing stuff normal like we did as kids, and this is the she does.
According to a statement from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, 11-year-old Ava was charged with making a false police report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner, a felony, and misuse of 911, a misdemeanor. After being processed at the Family Resource Center, she was later transferred to the Volusia Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, an experience she is unlikely to forget. We requested more information about her case from the Volusia County Juvenile Court, and they said nothing is releasable.